Yeah, this neighborhood lit up blue in the days and weeks following today in 2020. Now, they're doing that again tonight. They're bringing back the light in honor of Gannon as his dad reflects with me on what this past year has been like without his son by his side.
I know he's gone in this life, but where he's at, he's in a better place than we could ever imagine.
In this neighborhood, there aren't many mysteries.
We basically were following it from day one.
Shock that a child was missing.
Which is why Lorson Ranch will never forget. January 27th, 2020.
We all had a feeling, but we hoped it wasn't true.
Gannon Stout, an 11-year-old son and brother,
we're begging and pleading for you to come home,
disappeared from his home.
We wanted to do everything we could to try to help.
A normally quiet neighborhood changed.
Crawling under garage doors of vacant units, looking under the bridges, under the culverts. It was snowing, it was cold that night.
Blue lights meant to guide Gannon home, seen on every corner, while his family held on to something more.
I have hope, so please have hope with me.
Weeks passed before learning Gannon wasn't coming home.
Today I got the worst news and the best news. Obviously we know what the worst news is, but the best news is that justice will be served, and I'll make sure that justice is served, because my boy did not deserve any of this that has happened to him.
The answer no one wanted to hear.
It's hard to imagine a day, so.
For Gannon's dad, Al Stout, March 2nd was the day the light of hope dimmed, when an arrest was made in his son's murder.
Your little boy, my only boy, was gone.
And while words can't sum up his son,
love is one. He just was full of love.
There are words he wishes he could say to Gannon one more time.
It would be the same thing that I told him every day. I love you. Don't get off the bus without your sister. That's what I would say to him, the same thing, because that's what I miss.
Something no parent should have to live through.
It would have been so easy to lay down and just let this overtake us, but we're still here and still going.
With his memories frozen in frames.
As we look around, we got pictures on the wall and stuff, and sometimes it's hard to see those.
And as time ticks on, he finds strength in his daughter, Gannon's sister, Lena.
My whole world has been about her and making sure she's able to make it through this.
I love you.
Me too.
Love, a force that lasts long after tragedy.
I don't really want to focus on what we've been through, but just our gratitude and appreciation. I can't express enough the thanks for what the good people in the community have done throughout this past year.
Honoring Gannon by holding our loved ones tight.
At a year later, these blue lights for all of us, I think, are a way to remember him, to let him and his family know he's not forgotten.
Because love brings light, even in the darkest of places. Neighbors here in Lorson Ranch hope those blue lights spread beyond just this neighborhood. If you have any pictures of blue decorations or lights up at your home tonight, they want to see a picture of that on Facebook. All the information on where to post it can be found on KOAA.com. Always watching out for you, Southern Colorado. Colette Bordelon, News 5. Yeah, you'd never guess from out here that tucked away in a little corner of the school is now a place where teachers can have a cup of coffee and catch their breath. But it really serves as a reminder of how grateful our community is for our educators. 2 months of design. 1 month of fundraising.
Just hold it tight to the left and then open it.
And about 9 full days of hard work.
Okay. Keeps warmth in the room. I made my first countertops.
Bronwyn Cole is basically the carpenter on this project.
There was so much heart and love given to this project.
There are just so many little details that went into it.
In a teacher's lounge at Mann Middle School.
One tangible way that we could express to them that they're valued and they're loved.
All for this moment.
Look at it. Oh, it's like a whole kitchen.
We're Courtney Donnell, a 7th grade teacher.
You can find me here.
Can take a deep breath after being the teacher nominated by her school and the reason they were chosen by the Success Collective for this lounge makeover.
It's overwhelming. I'm grateful. I'm grateful.
So what did it look like before this?
Tacky, cluttered, dysfunctional.
But now,
every time I look around, I see something new I didn't see before.
Little ways to remember how much they're loved.
And then the last thing I wanted to point out is this notebook. This is a place for you to write down all those beautiful experiences, memories, stories, funny things.
This project was not needed, but this was a way for us to show some love.
Something you don't learn in a book, but in life.
When you get appreciation like this, and so grand, you know, it just reinforces that you're doing the right things.
And giving those who guide our future a little space with a lot of heart. Those with the Success Collective say they raised around $7,500 for this renovation. Businesses, organizations, and people all donated, whether it was money or their time. Always watching out for you, Colorado Springs. Colette Bordelon, News 5.
Colette Bordelon on the street talking about the police and their relationship with the demonstrators. Colette?
That's right, Rob. We've been out here all day today, and last night, actually, we did see one young man with the megaphone. He played a very large part in keeping these protests peaceful that we had last night. Now, we are following a group. Right now, they've kind of split off into a few different groups. We're walking around here downtown. We just left Acacia Park. That gentleman with the megaphone, he's also playing a big part in tonight, and here's why he's hoping to see a second night of peaceful protests.
Who's got my back? I got your back. Who's got my back? I got your back.
Even though 10 is now the curfew.
I understand there's a citywide curfew, but we're not vandalizing, we're not trashing the streets.
David Burke helped lead a group Wednesday night.
We were out past curfew and no one got pulled over, no one went to jail, no one got in trouble. The police didn't even set up no perimeter around us at all.
Making peaceful progress with the goal of doing the same on Thursday night.
Everybody that's gonna get something good benefited out of this. I'm doing it for them, I'm doing it for my people. I finally get to stand up for something. Good job.
During the day, marching to UC Health.
This is where the lady that got hit by the Jeep yesterday, this is where she's at, and we just want her to know that even though she got hurt, we're still here for her, and she's not going to be forgotten.
When I say her name, y'all say Nicole. Say her name! Nicole!
Where organizer Larry Black talked to the group.
Rioters took advantage of a protest. The police, no matter what choices they've made in the past, as I want to see you all go home to your family and your loved ones, I want to see them do the same thing. But the difference between us and them is I can't take my skin color off at the end of the day.
Saying he won't tell people how to protest, but he doesn't want the way some decide to do it to discredit the work that other people are doing.
Your life is no less than someone else's life. That's all, y'all. Much love.
And calling on city leaders.
Mr. Mayor, I want you to know that I know you can move your thumbs, but I want you to move your feet, brother. Quit moving your mouth. Silence is not justice, Mr. Mayor. You ain't out here with your people that you took office for, supposedly to help. Your people are dying. Your people are in pain. Where you at?
Mayor John Suthers did give News 5 a statement about the peaceful protests from Wednesday, saying they put the curfew into place to encourage peaceful activism and discourage violent behavior, adding he's thankful to the leaders who worked hard to keep that peace. Yeah, Elizabeth, right now I'm in front of Icons, the first and only gay piano bar in all of downtown. Then just a few feet in front of me, that's Yo Bowl, a brand new location of the retail outlet. Now, they're 2 of 20 businesses that have opened in 2020. 9 are expected to open early next year. And even though 15 businesses did have to close this year, those with the Downtown Partnership say it's still one of the best years for new business since 2016. On what seems like a quiet day downtown.
Have yourself a merry little Christmas.
The music never stopped inside of the brand new Icons.
We always say we dare people to come here and not have a good time.
Only open for a month now. Co-owners John Wolf and Colorado native Josh Franklin say they've had this idea for years.
There still wasn't a gay bar, there still wasn't a piano bar, there certainly weren't two like Broadway singers like singing at you aggressively.
One reason they're here is the pandemic forced them out of New York.
Merry little Christmas.
Obviously, the red level was a huge hit.
They gave me a small taste of what their bar would normally sound like, but those restrictions have pushed the music to their outside patio with a very limited crowd.
Troubles will be miles away.
And just a few feet away.
Yes, I can help you. Of course.
Yobel's new location.
You guys find a couple things? This was our ultimate dream, to be downtown.
But still, it's not quite what it once was.
Definitely depend on foot traffic. So the restaurants not being open as often as they have been able to in the past is a little bit more challenging right now.
And even though sales have definitely changed.
Still a significant threat to our businesses with the restrictions that are in place right now.
The Downtown Partnership says all of the growth and development happening in the area will set businesses up nicely once the pandemic is over.
As difficult as these times are, our future downtown is really bright. Our future citywide is really bright.
Hang a shining star upon the highest.
It's undeniable, COVID-19 has hurt many businesses. But here in downtown Colorado Springs on this winter evening,
Little Christmas.
sitting back and listening to these two new business owners sing almost makes you forget everything else.
Also reach out to a few other areas in southern Colorado. Monument tells me they don't know of any businesses that have closed because of the pandemic. They actually have had a handful open. Now Manitou Springs says they've had 4 close and 4 open. I also asked Pueblo. They didn't have the exact numbers for me on hand today, but they did say they think it's been more closures there than businesses opening. Always watching out for you, Colorado Springs. Colette Bordelon, News 5.
The conversation about women being underrepresented in this field is nothing new. There's even less Black or African American women on the statewide bench, but some have been newly appointed. A fair case is critical to Colorado.
And the reason I love this job is because I love this community. This is my home.
But reflecting on the community outside the courthouse is also key.
It's hard to tell the community that that the judiciary is fair and impartial if when the community comes in front of the bench, they don't see the entire community reflected there.
For District Court Judge Francis Johnson.
This for me is the pinnacle.
And County Court Judge Samorian Burney.
Dream job is exactly it.
This is something they've always wanted.
It's not just my personal journey. To me, it is important to serve my community.
Be courageous to be the first, to be the second, to be the third.
When you look at Colorado's judicial branch, around 60% of judges and justices are men, with 40% women. Breaking it down even further, white judges account for 292 positions, and Black or African American, 8.
It doesn't shock me. Sad to say, I think it's been more a disappointment. But I think what's been exciting is that there is a change.
A change with her and 5 other Black or African American women serving as judges across the state.
We're all extremely qualified, and we all have a perspective that would benefit our colleagues and the judicial system as a whole.
And now, thinking about young women today.
Someone has to knock down the door, and it might as well be you.
Find out about it, study it, connect with people who are in that area, and make sure you pursue your dreams.
A dream that's become a reality for these women.
There is hope. There is good things happening, and there's a future that is bright, and there's something that we should be looking forward to.
Giving us all a little something to remember in a year that's been a lot to handle. Governor Jared Polis says diversity is Colorado's strength. He's happy with the work that's been done so far, but he says there is more to be done when it comes to representation in the criminal justice system and on that statewide bench. Always watching out for you, Colorado Springs. Colette Bordelon, News 5. Whether it was the women's suffrage movement, the prohibition of alcohol, or even the civil rights movement, our local museum has been documenting these versions of those protests, many of which happened right here at City Hall in the same place as what we're seeing today. Different generations,
Got my little girl. I want her to know what's going on with history. I think we're making history like as a people, to be honest.
In front of City Hall.
All colors and everything came together.
In the same spot where many stood decades ago.
Extremely surprised. I did not even know that that was a part of our history, so it's really special to be here right now.
Like those who came out to protest before them, showing solidarity for the march in Selma.
All history is local.
Matt Mayberry is the director of the Colorado Springs Pioneers Museum. He oversees everything to do with preserving and interpreting our region's history.
So that whoever is sitting in my seat in 50 or 100 years will be able to use that information to make context of these times.
They've collected signs from the protests and plan on interviewing people involved with them to understand their motivation.
I don't think you can make sense of the world today without understanding the origins stories of the background of what brought on the George Floyd protests.
Some background found a document from Charles Banks, who was involved with the NAACP from roughly 1930 to the 1970s, saying the people of Colorado Springs are riled up about police brutality, demanding an investigation, which was done by a 5-man committee, but back then, Banks asked why the citizens couldn't have appointed the committee, a similar request we see nowadays.
Helped understand the present by understanding the past.
Moments captured, giving context to a story we don't know the end of just yet.
People care, and that people want to see this and they want to have a voice. It's exciting.
In the pursuit of equality, both past and present.
Mayberry says they're also documenting and preserving parts of history related to the COVID-19 pandemic. He says this process is essential to giving context to moments of history that we're currently living in for those people years down the road. Always watching out for you, Colorado Springs. Colette Bordelon, News 5. It only takes one day for lives to change forever.
She's very social, loves her friends and her family.
February 4th, 2013, 21-year-old Kelsey Schelling was just getting off work in Denver.
She was really excited about becoming a mom.
She knew she was 2 months pregnant and was going to see her ex-boyfriend Dante Lucas, the likely father, in his hometown of Pueblo.
So we've lost 2, not just 1.
That's the last time anyone saw Schelling.
Obviously, when she first went missing, that was a nightmare of a time.
Her car caught on camera in the Walmart parking lot on the 5th, then finally found at St. Mary Corwin's 10 days after Schelling first went to Pueblo.
No doubt in my mind that she met with foul play.
Laura Saxton, Schelling's mom, lives about 4 hours from Pueblo in northern Colorado. She did this interview with our chief investigator, Eric Ross, back in 2015. Saxton was already exhausted 2 years after her daughter disappeared.
It's not getting any easier, and it's not going to get any easier.
It's now been 8 long years.
Time doesn't heal all wounds.
Going back to February 5th, the day after Schelling disappeared, Lucas texted his mom saying, "I'm going to make sure she didn't leave anything in the house." His mom asks if he's okay. Lucas says he's 100% positive she's not pregnant. To which his mom says, "Are you ready for a smoke and a pancake?" Lucas says yes. "Let me get her out of here."
Pueblo is so vast. There's so much open space. There's so much water.
The Pueblo community would search for Schelling. And in 2015, her family files a lawsuit against the Pueblo Police Department and the Lucas family, criticizing the way the investigation was handled.
What do we want? Justice! Justice for who? Kelsey!
That suit dismissed.
I could probably be searching the rest of my life.
But Schelling's body,
I hope we get to bring her home.
Never found.
I can't go to the cemetery and take her flowers.
Then in December of 2017, almost 4 years since Schelling disappeared, Lucas is arrested and charged with her murder. Fast forward to May 2018, the judge said prosecutors proved probable cause. Evidence revealed that spring includes medical records proving Schelling's pregnancy, text messages between Schelling and Lucas, and data showing both of their locations based on cell phone towers. Investigators say the records prove there was never a time when the two phones weren't overlapping in the same areas. Plus, they say there was a 4-hour window of time where both phones are unaccounted for. The lead investigator on the case from the Colorado Bureau of Investigation believes Schelling was strangled after Lucas lured her down to Pueblo. That theory would explain the lack of a murder weapon.
The man accused of murdering Kelsey Schelling more than 5 years ago will go to trial. A judge in Pueblo ruled today there is enough evidence to try Schelling's former boyfriend, Dante Lucas.
Battle after battle after battle. So to have this validation, you know, it does feel good. I feel like I can maybe take a breath.
Lucas pleaded not guilty to the murder charges in August 2018 when the judge set a trial date for 2019. It would be pushed back at least 4 times.
I don't know how they can live every day and carry this. I think they have to be totally heartless.
The defense team has argued no body or murder weapon were ever found, saying there's no physical evidence Lucas committed a crime or even that Schelling is deceased. Plus, paperwork points the finger at another suspect, Schelling's own father, alleging he has a history of abuse. While the prosecution says Schelling and Lucas were arguing for months and her pregnancy was like gasoline on a fire. They say they don't need to prove how she died, just that Lucas was responsible. But looking beyond the courtroom,
if I give up, then it's just done.
There's a mom always fighting for her daughter.
I pray that we get answers. I pray that we get to bring her home.
Coming back to Pueblo, where she hopes to find closure.